Mr. President, I rise today to discuss the bill coming before the Senate this week, the North Korea Sanctions Enforcement Act, which seeks to curb North Korea's unacceptable behavior through the implementation of targeted sanctions. Mr. President, on January 6th of this year, North Korea tested a nuclear weapon in open violation of numerous UN resolutions. This is the fourth time that North Korea has conducted a nuclear weapons test, and it is estimated the country may have as many as 20 nuclear warheads in its arsenal. Then just this weekend, while many Americans were getting ready to watch the Super Bowl, North Korea conducted a missile test, putting a satellite into orbit. This missile test, which has already been condemned by the UN Security Council, served as a demonstration of the threat posed by North Korea's long-range missile program. In fact, just a few hours later, the satellite launched by the North Korean missile passed over the site of the Super Bowl in Santa Clara, California. If equipped with a nuclear warhead, a missile similar to the one launched this weekend, could potentially threaten the United States and our allies. And North Korea is actively seeking to market the same missile technology as well as its nuclear weapons technology to other rogue regimes. Mr. President, North Korea's history of aggressive behavior is already well known and well documented. In March of 2010, a North Korean torpedo sank the South Korean naval vessel, the Shonan, killing 46 sailors. In November of 2010, North Korea fired artillery on the island of Yongpyong, killing 2 soldiers and injuring an additional 15 soldiers and 2 civilians. And North Korea's dictator, Kim Jong-un, continues to spout threats against the United States and our allies. This past year, when South Korea citizens sent leaflets with unfiltered information into North Korea, the regime responded with threats to turn the whole of South Korea into, quote, a sea of fire, end quote. After the January nuclear test, a North Korea spokesman said, and I quote, "North Korean scientists are in high spirits," end quote. The statement went on to claim that North Korea had detonated an H-bomb, which we now know to be untrue, and then added that the bomb was, quote, "capable of wiping out the whole territory of the United States all at once," end quote. These threats are so common now that they barely make the news. Mr. President, North Korea is not only a threat to the United States, it is also a threat to its own people. It is estimated that 150,000 to 200,000 North Koreans are imprisoned in concentration camps. We can confirm the existence of these camps from satellite photographs and firsthand accounts. These are not camps for what we would consider criminals, but for individuals deemed disloyal to the regime. The crime of a single family member, which can be something as simple as accidentally tarnishing the photo of a member of North Korea's hereditary dictatorship, can lead to an entire North Korean families being sent away to a labor camp. The brutality of these camps has been confirmed by those who have made it out. To date, more than 28,000 North Korean defectors have escaped and made it to South Korea. Tens of thousands more are still in China, often working as cheap laborers who become victims of human trafficking. The stories of those who have escaped Kim Jong-un's regime carry a common theme: starvation, imprisonment, torture, and the execution of family members. And this is everyday life for the people of North Korea. Mr. President, the bill that we are considering this week seeks to curb North Korea's aggressive behavior through the use of targeted sanctions. The bill restricts access to financial resources and raw materials that North Korea uses to support its nuclear weapons program and operate its political prison and forced labor camps. It levels mandatory sanctions against individuals who contribute to North Korea's ballistic missile development and targets luxury goods that the regime uses to maintain the loyalty of party elites. It also puts in place sanctions against any entity determined to be enabling North Korea's ability to censor information, as well as those engaged in money laundering, narcotics trafficking, and counterfeiting. The bill also includes discretionary sanctions that the United States the U.S. President could use to target entities assisting North Korea in misappropriating funds for the benefit of North Korean officials. The President would have to justify any waivers from these sanctions on a case-by-case basis. The bill also codifies into law the presidential executive orders issued in 2015 following the cyber attack on Sony Pictures. This is a multifaceted bill designed to target North Korea's weapons programs, human rights abuses, and the finances of government elites. And it will do so with minimal impact on the lives of everyday North Koreans who continue to suffer at the hands of their own government. Mr. President, last week I introduced legislation addressing another threat posed by North Korea. As I stated before, North Korea is actively seeking to market its nuclear weapons technology to other rogue regimes. In fact, the Syrian nuclear reactor destroyed in 2007 was based on a North Korea design. My bill would ensure that North Korea can't sell its technology to another rogue regime, Iran. Although President Obama's nuclear deal seeks to prevent Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapon, many of us remain skeptical. And with North Korean regime strapped for cash, its nuclear weapons and missile technology are some of the few commodities it can offer, and it actively tries to market them to other rogue regimes. My bill seeks to prevent Iran from becoming a potential customer for North Korea's nuclear weapons technology. Under my legislation, if Iran attempts to acquire nuclear weapons technology from North Korea, all sanctions waived or suspended as a result of the President's nuclear deal would be reinstated immediately. Mr. President, a nuclear-armed Iran is unacceptable. Regardless of what the President claims his Iran nuclear deal has achieved, we must remain vigilant and ensure that Iran keeps its end of the agreement and does not go after a nuclear weapon. Mr. President, I'm glad the Senate is addressing the threat posed by North Korea. A similar version of the North Korea sanctions bill that we are addressing this week recently passed the House of Representatives by a vote of 418 to 2. I hope we'll see similar bipartisan support for the bill here in the United States Senate. We should not compromise the national security of the United States with disputes between our political parties. I hope my colleagues on both sides of the aisle feel the same and will join me in moving this bill forward. Mr. President, I yield the floor and suggest the absence of a quorum.